我哋今日嘅嘉賓來自澳洲嘅 Aud. Welcome Aud to our channel.
Thank you. Hi.
Very happy to have you.
Very happy to be
today.
here.
How's your first few days in Hong Kong?
Oh, I'm loving it. It's such a beautiful city, and there's so much to see.
Have you ever been here?
No, it's my first time, and
Okay.
I don't have enough time here. I have to come back.
Okay. How long do you have in Hong Kong?
I'm only here till tonight, so I've only been here 3 days,
Okay.
which is nowhere near long enough.
Oh yeah, and then there's like the work back and forth, running around,
Exactly,
screening, stuff
yeah.
like that. Okay.
But it's given me a taste, so I think I'm going to come back for more.
I'm sure Hong Kong will welcome you back very soon. Yeah. So the reason why we have you here this time is because there is the screening of Jimpa, which is a movie about your family,
Yes.
basically.
Yeah.
So can you tell us a little bit about the creative process of this movie?
Absolutely, yeah. So it's very interesting because it is kind of about my family. It's
yeah.
semi-autobiographical.
Yes.
I think it's maybe more fictional than people realize, but it is. There are a lot of aspects that are quite true to life as well. So my mum, Sophie Hyde, is a film director, and my dad actually works with her. They work as a filmmaking team. And so my mum wrote, produced, and directed this film. And my dad edited this film and also produced it. And then I came on, it's my first time really working with them as an adult. And so I came on as the lead actor, one of the lead actors, alongside some stellar cast, and also as an executive producer. And so it's been a really interesting creative process, and I think when I look to kind of my future in this career in acting and in making films, I realise that this will be a unique film, you know, that I will never again get the opportunity to work on a film this personal to me, you know, with this many kind of familial layers, and also as an actor, you know, that I'm never going to have this much creative control ever again kind of thing, because I just was so welcomed into the process, and you know, we worked as a family, so like every conversation, you know, at dinner was about the film, and you know, it's kind of the personal and the work become almost one thing. And so then when we kind of opened that out to our whole team, you know, including we had crews in 3 different countries, and we had some excellent cast. We had Olivia Colman, John Lithgow, and a huge ensemble cast from the Netherlands and from Australia. What happened was we all became a family. You know, there was this small little family that was making it,
the fictional family.
But then, you know, the whole crew and the whole cast became a family. And so I think, you know, one of the most beautiful things working on this film was just we all had so much love for each other, and we all came to set every day as ourselves. And I think that really allowed each person to put in their own little piece of their family and their truth and their heart into the film.
Was there a reason why your mom decided to create this film at this point of life?
That's a really interesting question. I think there was a feeling of a time crunch, because the seed of the idea was that me as an out queer person and my grandpa as an out gay man had never had a conversation post my coming out. So we had never spoken as 2 queer people openly. And so after he died, Mum really wanted to imagine what that conversation might be like if it were to happen.
So that's the fictional part.
That's the fictional part, and then from that, you know, grew this much larger story to sort of work around that, parts of which are true and parts of which aren't. And I think because of that, there was a sense that it was part coming of age movie and part parenting family movie. And so to make those things happen and have me play the role, I think there was just an impetus to do it now, you know, or to do it as soon as possible. I won't look like a teenager forever. So I think that was a big part of it,
Okay. How involved were you in the whole, you know, putting the story together, or even in the creation of the film?
I think I got to be incredibly involved. I mean, like, obviously I didn't write the script, but I was definitely both on the phone and in the development room at several different points, you know, and especially with my character Francis, I was able to have a lot of creative input, particularly around the stuff that happens in the school, and then also around like, what would the wording actually be, and some of these bigger conversations. Francis gets to have these conversations with their grandfather and his friends, the aunties. We get to have these conversations about bisexuality and kind of modern LGBT communities and what words we use for each other across different generations. And those conversations were always this kind of fine balance of, you know, me and Mum and Matt Cormack, one of our writers, and also Liam Hyan, our producer, all working together to figure out how would you say that, you know, what's offensive about that, what's not, why would Frances say this thing? So there was a lot of those kind of heavier dialogue moments were always much more of an open collaboration. But also I think what was so great about our process was that a lot of the cast got to inform the script. So for example, there's a really beautiful scene where all of the aunties are sitting around talking about, kind of reminiscing on the period of time in which they would make AIDS quilts.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
And Hans Kesting, who plays Yuri, who's this fantastic actor from Amsterdam, he, in rehearsals, had told us this story about being on a gay beach in Sitges in Spain. Yeah. And the story was just so profound. And we had a different story in the script at the time. Yeah. But Matt Cormack and Mum, who both wrote the script, were sitting in the room, and we all sort of just looked at each other and were like, this story is so profound and so insightful and so potent. Yeah. How do we get it in? And so then it was a process of working with Hans and you know, checking if that was okay with him and sort of reworking the story to fit the characters. But I think it led to the kind of performance that we get in that moment. I mean, he's a phenomenal actor anyway, but I know that when you're able to show up with a kernel of truth in a role, it's so much better. Yeah. And I think we got some really beautiful stuff because of that. Okay, so it's kind of like improvising / creating along the way. And I think, it's definitely scripted. Very, very scripted. But I think because we have rehearsal processes and because Mum as a director is so open to collaboration, very genuinely open to collaboration, we all got to input in a lot of ways. And so whether that's as directors, Hans' story going in, or whether it's about how you choreograph a particular scene or the costume you get to wear or that kind of things, you know, it was always... There was always a truth to everything. Okay, so how did you end up playing the role of Frances? Because the reason why I asked is because Hannah and also Jimpa is played by other characters, but you are basically playing yourself. So how did that happen? It's a great question. I mean, it was always a question amongst the family. We've been making this film for about 6 years now. And so obviously when that started, I was 14. So there was a lot of like, oh, will you play the role? Maybe we'll keep that, you know, separate. And I think the closer that we got to making the film, and as sort of, you know, it takes quite a long time to get a film made, to get a film funded, and you always think it's about to happen, and then it doesn't. And you think it's about to happen, it doesn't. So over each of those periods, there was always this kind of re-asking of the question of like, are we going to need to go searching for people to play Frances, or would you like to? And by the time that Olivia Colman signed on, I knew I wanted to be acting. You know, I've acted in lots of things and been loving that for a long time. I knew I wanted to be part of making this film kind of as integrally as I could be. It was Olivia Colman. I was like, I'm not going to not take the role. And I think also we realised how complex of a character Frances is. You know, they're this kind of middle balancing point for both of the other roles to kind of bounce off of. And in some scenes they're a diplomat, and in other scenes they're an observer. And there's all of these complex dynamics at play. And that's true of every character, but I think we were aware that, you know, I was in such a unique standing to be able to play the role and understand all of those complexities because it is my family. And I think Frances has become very different to me. You know, we're not very similar in a lot of ways, but the ways that we are similar are quite subtle. And to play those subtleties, I think it made sense for it to be me. And I was just stoked to take the role. Exactly. So how is it working with the team, especially with your mom? Because sometimes I just feel like working with family would be very difficult. Like you know. Look, I mean, it is difficult at times by nature of the fact that we're family. But I also think that my mum and I are so close, and my mum, my dad, and I are all incredibly close. And we are very used to making things together. So they're a filmmaking duo, so they've been doing it my whole life together. And so I've always been living with them, watching that process and seeing that. And so in a lot of ways, I think it was easy to fold into that. But also, they have so much respect for me as a person and for my integrity and autonomy. And so what was amazing was just being able to show up on set as my full self, you know, with people that know me really, really well.
Right.
My parents, my family. And yeah, there were definitely difficult moments. I think actually the layer of what's true and what's fiction, and how that changes as you actually act out each of these scenes and sequences, so therefore they become true in this one sense.
Okay.
That was harder to navigate than working with my mum. I mean, there were such beautiful moments on set. Like we really love each other a lot, and there would be moments where we'd kind of look across the room after a take, and it was almost like telepathy, you know, it's like, we don't need to do more than this. I understand what you're thinking. And so that was always great. And it was like, you know, I always had my biggest supporter there on set. So, and I don't think most people get that at work. So
that's true.
In a lot of ways it was primo.
What about Olivia and John?
Yeah, I loved working with Olivia and John. Yeah,
I'm sure.
Yeah, they're the best. They're the best. I mean, Olivia is just such a funny person. Like, she's so fun to be around. And I was so nervous meeting her for the first time. I was like sort of pacing up and down the hallway, like, oh my God, we're gonna rehearse. It's just me and her today. What's it gonna be like? And then I met her, and just like, she gave me such a big hug, and she was like, you know, laughing and telling me about her kids and her pets, and immediately making fart jokes and you know, that kind of thing, and just like, it was, all of the walls went down. And none of that is to say that she's not a serious actor, because can she act, you know? It's like serious, you know. One of the things I was amazed about was just watching her balance those things, balance kind of a lightness and an ease as herself on set, with suddenly dropping straight into a scene and straight into this emotional depth and complexity that we know of Olivia Colman, and kind of coming to understand some of the ways that she does that, and who she is as a person. I think one of the most amazing things about Olivia is that she has all of her emotion here. Like, I think of it as like a well of emotion, and it's just ready to bubble up. And so actually a lot of the time she has to, you know, when it's just her in the room, when she's being Olivia and we're having lunch on set or something, she has to
push it back in.
Well, not push it back in, but like, she has to tap into a sense of fun. Because then when we get into the scene, this is already ready to spill over. You know, she's almost conserving herself. And I think it's such a great skill. I'm trying to learn how to do that. And then John, I mean, he's a giant of acting, of cinema. He's a giant in person. He's 6'4".
Oh wow.
And yeah, he's so excellent. He one of the first days that he was in Amsterdam, he got a task from Mum. So one of her directorial things is she gives out tasks to people. And he got a task saying, take Aud out to the cinema. And so he and I went to the cinema together after work one day, and we saw Olivia in her film Wicked Little Letters. And we just sat there and just laughed together through a film, and walked back to the apartments. And we just had the best time. Like, he's such a lovely man. He's so willing to have fun, and then also really willing to dive deep into a scene, you know, from day one of rehearsal. He's so generous and open and loving. And yeah, we had a great deal of affection for each other.
It sounds very fun.
We had such a wonderful time.
So how personal is this film to you?
Oh, wow. I mean, it's an incredibly personal film. There's, I think I want this film to speak to the fact that there can be multiple emotional truths that are all true in one room about one event in a family. And so, I mean, for me, that's an insanely personal idea, you know, that's the true of my life. And so in that sense, intellectually, it's very personal. And then in the sense of the family, it's an incredibly personal movie. I mean, I wouldn't say we made this in tribute to my grandfather, but I think that oftentimes his kind of phantom voice was in all of our heads making it, you know, each of our ideas of him and what we learned from him. And so I think, it's very, very close to my heart, this movie, in the fact that we made it as a family, in the fact that it's about my grandfather, in the fact that it's about me and my mum, and also that it's kind of not about any of those things, and in a lot of ways it's just about family and about love, and about treating each other with kindness and curiosity. But I think Francis, I will always just have an intense soft spot for Francis, you know, like I'm quite defensive of them, protective of them, so
when I was watching the movie, I felt a very warm feeling and very connected because I, like I told you off air, whenever I watch anything that's like a family relation kind of film, I get very, very emotional and very touched. So I was very happy.
I'm so glad. I'm sorry, but I'm also glad.
So in the movie, there was this one scene where you were in the classroom doing some sort of presentation, and then with your classmates giving you a not very pleasant look. So I'm sure that is also kind of real.
Yeah.
How did you overcome this sort of situation?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I had quite a blessed upbringing as a young queer person. Like in every sort of capacity in the modern day, I have been so privileged, you know what I mean? Like my family's supportive, I had queer people in my family. You know, it's the kind of era where, especially in Australia, I was able to talk about it openly. But I think there is this, you know, even with all of that being said, like school experiences can just be kind of awful. You know, it's like this little microcosm of society, and all the stuff that society thinks about queer and trans people will come out in a school setting. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that scene with Francis in the classroom is very, very close to many real instances for me. And I mean, how did I overcome that? In some ways, it was, I've always had a very grounded kind of foundation of who I am. I think that's what the family aspect does. Like I think that's the real power of having a supportive family, and I think that was the real power of growing up with someone like Jimpa in my life, my real Jimpa, was that queerness and difference and gender nonconformity were, you know, normalized for me. I knew people, I could see people who had done these things or who were like me. And at the same time, I think it took a lot of mental fortitude to get through. And I mean, I dropped out of high school, so I didn't. In some way, I didn't get through it all. But in another way, I think that was a way to keep myself sane and to keep myself okay and to survive. Was to leave. You know, there's always got to be that point where you decide for yourself, like, this is too much. I'm not taking it anymore. This doesn't fit my priorities. I don't need to be here. And I mean, that was one of my, I thought at the time it was a weak moment, but now I realize it was quite a strong moment for me. And I don't know, I think I have been blessed with the ability to articulate myself and to have queer people in my life from such a young age and to have such a supportive family. And it only makes me want to work harder for the people who don't have any of those things going for them. Because I think that there are trans kids in our school systems who don't know how to say what they need, who they are, what they want, what's happening to them. They don't have any ability to say those things because their parents aren't supportive, or they don't feel safe, or they aren't safe. And so I think it you know, in one sense is the rest of us, it's our responsibility to kind of make the world a better place for those people. And use whatever capacity we have to do that.
What would you tell younger generation or even transgender people out there who are not doing as well as they could be?
I think I would tell them that, like, being trans, being queer is a beautiful thing, and that actually what we do by living as our full selves is show the rest of the world how free they can be. You know, and how much we can embrace the parts of ourselves which don't fall within rigid social structures. And so I think I would say, you will survive this, you will grow old and be happy, and that there is so much joy and community waiting to welcome you,
embrace you,
and already welcoming you, whether you know it or not, whether you can see it or not. We're all here waiting, and we're you know, like, our liberation is already real because we're living it. And every day that we live it, we make it real again and again and again. We make it real and we make it more and more possible. And so you're not alone, you're not the first, you won't be the last. And there's so many people waiting with so much love for you.
I'm having goosebumps. Because I just feel like even for myself, like from back when I was younger to now, I think even the society, the overall perception of queerness is ever changing. So I think nowadays, even though it's a lot easier, some people are still going through a very tough time. So
Absolutely.
I think it's beautiful that you could, you know, be yourself, be your true self.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah. Do you think do you feel like you're carrying a legacy or even a responsibility in our society today?
I feel like I'm carrying. Yeah. I mean, in one sense, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
I think I am acutely aware of who my elders are.
Yeah.
You know, who are the people in the generations before me, some of whom are still alive and some of whom aren't.
Yeah.
Whose shoulders I'm sort of standing on. Like,
yeah.
I'm very aware of that. And I also carry with me every day this kind of young version of myself, you know, who was waiting for the chance to speak up for myself, for my friends, for my communities. And so to be able to have the opportunity to be somewhere like this, doing this interview with you, absolutely, I carry a sense of responsibility, you know, for little me, for all of these people in the past. And also I think I carry a great sense of duty to all of the people in the future, whether that's myself or whether that's, you know, people who are kids right now or haven't been born yet, who are going to grow into, you know, flourishing queer and trans people, hopefully with all of our help. There is absolutely a responsibility there. And I think, I mean, I don't want to spoil the movie, but like one of the final things that is said in the movie is sort of surrounding this idea of legacy. And it's a really beautiful thing to have expectation and legacy placed upon you. And I think it can also be a really damaging thing. And I don't think that it is every individual queer person's responsibility. And in fact, I don't think it's every single marginalized person's responsibility. I think that we should be working towards lives and systems that don't place the responsibility on the people who are going through oppression. But I know that the reality is that right now that responsibility is on us. And so for those of us who can, for those of us who have the platform to do so, I think it's integral and incredibly important to be doing that work. Whether it's, you know, making movies like this, or whether it's the work of someone like Chase Strangio, who's taking, you know, trans kids to the Supreme Court to argue for their rights. You know, I think there's so much work to be done, and I think the one thing I would say is, like, that can be a lot of pressure. You know, I remember being a young person and feeling that incredible sense of pressure, and that being really detrimental at times. And so I think the really important thing is that none of us have to be everything.
So
everyone does their part, you know, and that might be, I think actually the most integral, least talked about roles are our community, you know, the people that put our communities together and keep them together. You know, it's the care roles, it's the people who cook for each other, it's the people who are showing up to care for each other after gender affirming surgery, or who are driving people to appointments, or who you know, are creating home spaces for our communities. Now, none of those roles will ever be visible in the way that my role is as an actor. And this is just the small part that I feel so privileged to get to play. And I think really the heart of movements and the heart of making the world a better place for queer and trans people is our communities. And so, I think we should all just be striving to live in community, and that's the only duty any of us really hold.
I think I really agree with the point that everybody should just, you know, play their part, keep everybody together, and then eventually I think things will just, you know, keep moving.
We're doing it. You know, we look at things like music and movies and TV shows and books. We look at these as acts of creation. But I think a conversation is an act of creation. Do you know what I mean? And I think a household is an act of creation, and a neighborhood is an act of creation, and a dinner, you know. And so all of these things are creative actions that are holding us together, and that are, I think they are liberation, right? Like I think that our cultivating our joy and caring for each other is our liberation. And so I'm very interested and invested in that.
Okay, so I would really like to thank you for having this interview with me today.
Thank you so much.
The audience has already missed a chance to watch Jimpa at this point, but I think later on this year or even beginning of next year, the movie will be on again. So if there's anybody who is looking forward to watching Jimpa, your chance will be coming soon. So just keep your eye out, keep waiting for promotions and stuff, and then we will have a chance to enjoy this very wonderful, very touching film.
And you can keep an eye out on our Instagram, Jimpa_film, if you want to keep in touch.
Okay, well, it's been great talking to you.
Thank you so much.
And I hope we'll see you soon.
Yes, thank you for the interview. It's been great.
Thank you. Bye.